It's a good thing that I don't scream like that every stream. Welcome. Today is a day where we do something that's not playing games, but we will look at games. Like I discussed with Deviate Fish. Welcome aboard to you, Deviate Fish. What we discussed earlier on the Discord, right? Watching a game, playing a game, separate things. So today we will not play, but watch gameplay, teasers, trailers, and we will discuss most of what happened this year, some of what will happen next year, and it's the fourth episode this year, right? And 2020 has been mad in many a way, but as far as games go, one thing stands out, and it's you know it's going to be a bit political, that one, but I will start with it anyway. Um, Games got delayed. It happens every year. Games, they do get delayed. Their announced releases cannot be realized, and then studios have to make decisions and such. This year, there were games that got delayed, and there's always a reason. They always give a reason. Whether that's the truth or not doesn't really matter. They give a reason, and this year it hasn't been only, or I don't even think it has been mostly, the pandemic. But we've seen something extraordinary, and I'm not sure if it's a good thing. But we've seen that games got delayed, and the reason given is we do not want to compete with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk got delayed because of the scope of the game and because of the pandemic. That's what CD Projekt said. Must reach parity. Very nice. Thanks for the points, Deviate Fish. Spoonfed Badger. Much appreciated. So, CD Projekt Red, huge success, Witcher 3. I think, personally, now that I looked a bit further into Witcher 2, that Witcher 2 is already a very good game. Much more on par with the story experience I had in Mass Effect. Right? Both games that are relying on story and action and immersion and world building a lot. They are both RPG-ish games where The Witcher is a smashy magic melee combat stuff game. The Mass Effect is a shooty thing, right? But they both are so good games, and Witcher 2, 3 was the stepping stone for CD Projekt to go and make Cyberpunk. And it's a largely anticipated game because it's not a fantasy game. I think if it would be a fantasy game, people would be like, yeah, okay, cool. But the hype would not be as big. And so that got delayed. And then other studios were saying, okay, we can't compete with that. Our target audience has massive overlap with the target audience of Cyberpunk, so we will delay our release to next year. And then Cyberpunk got delayed again. Holy crap. I mean, that the build-up there is insane. It's super important to know that a game can get that big without being released. And they did spend a lot on marketing. They do a lot to try to keep people in the loop because nobody likes delays, especially not the entitled crowd of people who buy PC games or console games. Obviously for the studio is not good, but it couldn't be helped. And now today and last week when I was researching for today's talk, I saw so many announcements where it said I expected, there's a delay because of the pandemic, and people were saying there's a delay because of Cyberpunk. A lot of them. And games where you wouldn't think that they anticipate an overlap in their target audience. For example, one of the games that got delayed to next year is Everspace 2. Right? The roguelike space shooter game. I'm just calling it roguelike because reasons. People do that. So I sort of follow up. I don't think it's a roguelike. It's silly to call it a roguelike. So, Everspace, right? In space. And it gets released in January because they say from the feedback from their community, they know that there's a massive overlap with Cyberpunk. Yes and no. The genre, the type of game is completely unrelated. But maybe everybody who's into space is also into Cyberpunk. I mean, I don't think they pull that out of their asses just to have something to say that's important, which would be fair. And I don't think it's supposed to claim that people who like awesome games like Cyberpunk will also like niche games like Everspace. I don't know, but that was something that was popping up on my radar when I was doing research for this talk today. Yeah, but that's just I needed to get that off my chest. I meant to start the stream directly after the Normandy song by Miracle of Sound played. I was not fast enough because I had some things that got stuck on my screen that shouldn't have, and I got sidetracked. So now let's see if we can make this work, because I want to watch something that I haven't watched yet, and you have to join. I'm just gonna. So that happened. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. So I haven't counted on that to happen, right? They are not complete reworks. They are upgrades on the existing games, and it's a preparation for Mass Effect 4, which is officially in the works. So it's a smart move. I'm not sure if I need a remaster there, really, like for Crysis. I'm not sure if I really need one. The Legendary Edition will be available in spring 2021 on major platforms, which is consoles and PC. So there's going to be a big update on that side of the news sphere in early 2021. I did some more research and I found out, of course, there are rumors, but there are also sort of confirmed things. That's a rumor. Okay, Dragon Age 4 needs to be released before they can release Mass Effect 4. And then I was like, what? When is Dragon Age 4 gonna happen? I don't know. I haven't done research in that area yet. So there's gonna be Dragon Age 4, and then there's gonna be Mass Effect 4, and that's exactly 2 games I need 1 year to play through. Yeah, remasters? Yeah, maybe. That's another rumor. Some guy who's probably awesome is gonna be back. I don't care about stuff like that. It's blah blah blah. It won't be Andromeda 2. That's confirmed. That was important to know. The rest is just someone making an article full of stuff that's not really stuff. As journalists sometimes need to, because there's nothing going on that they can talk about. So it's not going to be Andromeda 2. I didn't know about that. I think it's probably a good decision. I really didn't hate it. I didn't finish it. I really need to play it again, because I didn't think it was bad at all. But yeah, angsty players on PC and other platforms, they have a particular way of making shit rain on stuff that doesn't really deserve it. So I think I'll play Andromeda and just enjoy it. But I thought this was very interesting. A remaster of it's. You can see the recommendations, right? You can you can reverse engineer that into what does Captain Nemo watch on YouTube? Basic knife skills. What does he do with that? And the ladies. And the... That's wrong. So, Legendary Edition. Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2. You dislike the entire series for some reason. Did you play each game more than once? A bit of privacy here. Oh, the overlay is blocking all the stuff. Well, yeah, that's okay. Let's go for full screen. Did you play them more than once? Because I think that's not helping in the case of Mass Effect. Cheers, by the way. But it's true. Remasters make you feel like, okay, but didn't I play that other game that they're remastering not that much earlier? It's like, that's been 15 years ago. Seriously? Yes, maybe. Okay. So, I think it's cool that they do a remaster, because if they make a fourth, people can enjoy the game again on modern systems. As we have seen on the shooter stream last time, Crysis was not running on my PC without a patch, because my CPU has too many cores. And the game gets hiccups from that. So remasters can be necessary to make games that don't really look bad or play bad, make them available on modern systems. So I think that's good. Of course, marketing-wise, there's a good chance that people who want to play 4 will buy the Legendary Edition to play 1, 2, 3 before they play 4. I'm a person that does that. I'm absolutely a victim of that marketing trap. And sometimes it's just easier to spend 20 bucks, or they probably ask more than that, on something like this, instead of spending 2 weeks trying to get the old stuff to work on your PC. And I know, because I tried to get all the old shooters to work on my PC. Mostly successful, but it has been a lot of work. I didn't note the hours down, because that would make me very sad. But it takes a lot of effort. So it's not only money grabbing, it is also a very nice offer. You're not forced to play the Legendary Edition. So I think it's a smart move, and people will appreciate it. I still think it's not super necessary for Mass Effect, but from today's perspective, if you're not as old as I am, it might look horrible, the first game. Mushy, bleak, washed out, low resolution, and so on. I don't know. I think I wouldn't mind playing the first 3 games in their current state before playing 4. And I'm quite excited that the series gets another iteration, because I think it's a good one. It had really cool characters. It had a really gripping story. It was still... I keep saying that every time I point out that a game has a good story. It is never, ever going to come close to a proper book. Never, ever. And I don't mean book as in paper, because paper is cool. I mean book as in someone spent all their time on the story and not just a bit of their time on the story. And I do not expect games to have a book-like story, because then it would be hard to follow all the rest that the games offer, right? So it has a really good story, but it's not art. It's a good story, but it's for a game. So it's on the sidelines. But Mass Effect is one of the games where it's really enjoyable, like entertaining. books are not always entertaining. Books are sometimes demanding towards the viewer. So if I want to spend my free time with a game, I don't really want it to be demanding. Or I do. That depends on the player. But I mostly enjoy being entertained. But I do also enjoy being, challenged. Mass Effect is not that kind of story. It has morals, like decision making in it, and yeah, that's not super important. Super important is that the characters are kind of cool, all of them in their respective position, and decision making as a player choice is a cool thing to have in the game. And I never understand people who explain that they hate Mass Effect because the decisions are pointless, because you could do this and that and that and it wouldn't matter because they tried. I will never understand that. It's just very childish, I think. But yeah, Mass Effect is going to happen. Mass Effect 4 is probably not going to happen next year. I think it's 2022, especially since I have not heard anything about Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age 4, sorry. Dragon Age Origins still being the best in the series, I think. You haven't played them twice. Silly in-game cameras. Didn't help. The article I linked earlier didn't help, huh? I found that very smart. I'm going to link it later in chat for those who haven't read it yet. I linked an article on the Discord today that I found very smart, very revealing, and a good perspective change for the player, or in my case for the streamer. It's something I could connect to very directly in many ways, actually, and it also talked about camera perspective. Yeah. Okay, I would have to play 3 and Andromeda to figure out what might trigger that response, but I think I've got a few ideas what could. Cinematic cameras in games, realism in games, that's its own talk show. But I wanted to start with Mass Effect because I think it's something that deserves attention. I could have started with, I don't know, Far Cry 6. I had my fun with Far Cry, but it's really not super exciting that they're going to make Far Cry 6. It's super exciting that they hired an actor from who's well known from Breaking Bad, I think, or something. He's the super evil guy in Breaking Bad, and that was the news of the day, not the game, because the game is going to be another Far Cry. So we know there's going to be something to climb up to, and then you're going to get a ping and some reveals, and then some collectibles and more symbols, and it's going to have nice gunplay, and it's going to be silly, and then you're going to drive around and hunt animals or robots or whatnot. Oh, right. He did good. He did good on that one. Very short appearance, but very good job. I think it's just his face. He doesn't really need to do much. Poor guy looks like that. Evil. He's probably fun. Most people who can play evil people really good are really fun people who are absolutely not evil in real life. I'm not sure how that works. I don't know. Yeah, so I could have started with Far Cry 6. We're going to talk about Far Cry 6 later. I've got this list here. Switch to the widescreen. This is my my script. I just came up with the idea today. I'm going to do something like this. Like the games we talked about with links to the home pages or Steam or whatever, and then what we talked about, and then the emotional link. What's your most anticipated game for 2021 or the rest of 2020? What's your best experience this year? We're going to do that later. So this will come up as sort of an archive. It will be available on the Discord, and I will link to it on the channel page on Twitch. So you can get access to all the things we talked about this year, which is 4 episodes, and all will have a tiny Google Doc like this. So you can have a quick reference when you think, oh, didn't Nemo talk about that weird game that I never heard about? And then you can go to this thingy here and click on it and watch the video and go to the homepage and wishlist it on Steam or whatever. It's not taking much effort on my end to do it. It's just a few hours of work, and I think it's an awesome thing. I don't know anybody else who does it. Yes, I'm awesome. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the way I will present this to you. I will give it an overhaul graphically. It will look better. But yeah, just for now, it's going to be functional. This is a list that is alphabetical. We can go from top to bottom, and the next up would be Biomutant. Are we still talking about this? We are. And isn't she a looker? This is what I prepared for us today. It's a lot to watch. And some homepages just for directions and release dates and such. And this is such a scary thing to look at. I don't like it. Let's make it go away. Biomutant. Probably not appropriate for children. This is new-ish. Because Biomutant, I found some things out. Biomutant has been on the talk show since early this year. It has been on my radar since mid 2019. It has been in development since longer than that. In between, it changed to THQ Nordic, but the team working on it is still the same team. I'm not sure if they started as an indie, trying to make it on their own sort of thing, and then THQ sort of found them. I don't know how that really worked out. But I found out it's only 20 people working on it. So the expectations we have, and I like to talk, you know that. I like to talk about expectations. When you see a gameplay trailer, when you see a picture, you start, if nobody else is talking while you do that, you start forming your expectation. You can't really stop it. It's how we work. Humans work like that. You see something, and then you're like, we have context. It's a game. It's an open world game. It's a third-person game. It's an action game. And then you start building up expectations, especially if you see the stuff that the first Biomutant trailer showed off. So what I will do now, before we even watch this, is maybe expectations will be too high, and people will hate the game for it being a poopy indie B class in Yankee games that we don't need. That's what people might say as soon as Biomutant gets released, hopefully next year. But if we now adjust our expectations to, well, I'll be happy if there's going to be a Biomutant game at all, and it will be fun. That might be enough.
Rated.
Not rated yet. I was. I'm gonna be too lazy to let myself vanish all the time. I was sold at exactly that point. I don't care if it's under delivering on its scope and whatnot. I don't care. This is awesome. So you can already see this lacks polish, right? The cinematic trailer, the first one that was shown, at least let me expect something a bit more crisp and spot on. This is not final footage, but it's. If they're going to release next year, it's going to be a bumpy ride. I still think they win because they win me over, at least because of the setting and the creatures. But I am not 100% sure what kind of open world game we will get with the conquered outposts and stuff like that. I like the animations a lot, though. Monster Hunt furries. I don't think we will get that exactly, but it might not be that far away actually, Biko. Correct. But yeah, this is pre-release gameplay, right? A toothbrush. So, to just go a bit further on that, we don't need to watch the whole 10 minutes. I think there are a lot of cool ideas in there, and there are a lot of pitfalls in there as well. So we will have to see. I still think it's an awesome setting, and with the comical boing and boom sound, speech bubbles, and the art style on the or the graphics design on the loot, the moddable weapons. I think it's a light-hearted approach to something that could be just fun. I do not expect the most polished open world super game. I really hope it's not Monster Hunt Furries actually, but it could be a grindy, loot based sort of thing. We will have to see. But Biomutant is one of those games that fills a gap that I never thought would be there in the first place. So yeah, check out the trailer, the new one. It's worth looking at. I think they published it in the Gamescom in Germany, which happened digitally. So yeah, Biomutant. I really hope it's going to be good fun. So this is something I want to talk about, but it's something I want to talk about later. Borderlands 3, sorry, that was brain fart. It says Borderlands 2 here as well. It's because it's Borderlands 3 Season Pass 2. I just blame it on that. Godfall is what I want to talk to you about next. Did you know about Godfall before I just mentioned it just now? Do you know what that is all about? Oh, fast internet is fast today. Do you know what Godfall is? I put it down as Loot Souls, and I'm sorry for doing that, but there was no way around it. You will see. You will see. See. That blog post on the Discord, the one that I found by the guys who make Witchfire, a shooter game that we will talk about later. It was so spot on, discussing something that has been going around in my brain for ages, and dismissing things for the tags, the categories applied by other people or by ourselves is obviously nothing you can stop from happening, and we need to sort information in a way to make it digestible, to decide. And especially since we have the internet, there's so much information that we have available, so many things we can see and watch and do, that we need a good filter, because we do not have unlimited time, especially if you work and you do adult stuff. Right? You can't just do all the things. You can't play all the games. You can not know about all the games. It's impossible because there's so much. And then you need categories, and journalists need categories, and developers and marketing people need categories. And that these categories have attributes, and they are called tags. And if something's called something is tagged a loot shooter, there's a large percentage of people who just say, crap, I don't want that. Even though it might not be an actual loot shooter or looter shooter. It's a fun term. It sounds nice. I don't, better. It sounds better than roguelike. Like, looter shooter, especially if you say it a bit with an American accent. Let's see if you dismissed it for the right reasons. A Schluter? No! No!
What?
No! Don't! No! Oh my god, I can't find the right button. Don't call it a Schluter! That's vomit inducing. Betcha. Oh man. Okay, it's not a Schluter. That is not a great word. That is a horrible. But let's find out, Deviantfish, if you if you dismissed Godfall, which has received very mediocre reviews by the general public. I hate you now. Schluters. Let's watch a bit of gameplay. Oh, please take note of when you decide this is a Schluter or not a Schluter, right?
Sir, you're still injured.
Doesn't matter. We have a job to do.
She won't want to leave the temple, Orin.
I know.
Slack and hoot? Meep, meep. No firearms yet. I think that already happened, Deviantfish. More on that topic later. It's already, it's you can play it already. Your hooter, looter, shooter. Aha! I've seen Captain America wearing a funny costume. Yes, very. So that was a few minutes in. We haven't watched the this story build up, but that was on purpose because what we have seen so far is impressive looking, but the gameplay is neither a shooter nor is it a looter. It's a very, very hack and sloot, and not even that. We picked up something that looked like a shield to unlock an ability that we can use. That's what I've seen so far. So it's a third-person hack and slash adventure game. This is now the introduction.
It was all a lie. Macros sold us a vision he never believed in. He would destroy us. We just didn't know it yet. We were warriors, but he turned us against each other. Brother against brother. And despite all the maneuvers and all the strategy, in the end, it was going to be either me or him. Macros was the better warrior that day. He left me for dead, but I survived. Macros thinks the war is over, but our fight has just begun.
Right, and then you know, and then the slashing starts.
You understand how important this mission is. The
It's
weapon
very
we need-
important, and then we saw 6 minutes of exactly that. The science fantasy setting. Yeah, you know. There's a gun. So the hack and slash, you can completely forget that. It's a shooter. Looter. Looter shooter. I mean, the very complex gameplay is baffling, and it's definitely going to be a deep RPG. And it's definitely also going to be about shooting a lot. I'm not sure why people call it a looter shooter. I'm not even sure if there's actual loot in this game. But nevertheless, people tagged it that thusly. Let's see if we can get to a point where they're... Now we have a second weapon. When did that happen? There are things we can pick up that's worth XP. Aha! Oh, not so fast. So, we have different weapons. Common. 2,300% damage. That's where I turn off the machine. But so you can actually loot equipment in different quantities and qualities. I want to jump to the part where...
And I am not just some tool at your...
Aha. So, merits, codex, social, XP, then you've got 3 attributes. I didn't find the gameplay to be very convincing as someone who watches it happen. I think it could be fun to play, right? It looks gorgeous. It's an interesting... it's an interesting... how did you call it? Sci-fi setting. But it's also very generic. So there's nothing where I think, yay. When I first heard about Godfall, I was very, very, very interested. It's basically an ARPG. And that's it. Just from a different perspective. With the Unreal Engine in lots of lights and shiny things. But I think it's an ARPG. Nothing shooty about it. So it's a very classic hack and sleuth. We might have firearms, we might have magic abilities, and there might be rarity to the loot. What I read about the game is that there's not enough to do. As always, if it's not open world, the criticism is always there's not enough to do. And then the RNG is bad, right? The amount of loot you find is either too much or not enough. And then I read all about this game. It's all the same game. Then there are too few weapons. Then there are too many weapons. Then they are not different enough from one another, but they are also very very unique, and but not enough weapons. So I think people don't know what to make of this. I think that's the biggest problem. It might be that this game is not very special, and that's because the reviews are mediocre, but I don't think it's a bad game. It looked very flashy, effectful, and just the setting they chose and the way they present it is not setting it apart enough, or doesn't let people connect to it hard enough, or there wasn't enough marketing in the first place to make that happen. For it to kick in. But on a sale, I would definitely pick this up. Because at first, that's why I called it Loot Souls. At first, that's what the first thing I heard about it. It's going to be Dark Souls, but with Borderlands-like loot. And I thought, okay. The way we pick off regular enemies and the pace of the gameplay alone make that a wrong tag. It has nothing to do with Dark Souls. If I write loot slasher, Sloosher? Nah. I would say that's a classic hack and slash or hack and slay. People prefer that sometimes. And there's really nothing soulsy about it, but I might be wrong. I don't know, but I meant to show it because, as Deviate Fish pointed out, it's a good-looking game with a different setting. It's not Orcs and Dragons. No, Borderlands will happen, but under a different topic. I want to talk about the Season Pass 2 and Borderlands 3 later on a bit more. Right now we're going through the lists so that we can get an idea of what's about. It's still 1 hour. So yeah, that is Godfall. If that's piquing your interest, do check it out. I think it's available on Epic and not on Steam. I'm not sure if that would change. Shall we get to Metal Hellsinger next? Oh, that's something completely different. Now let's go to Graven, which is going to be releasing next year. At the end of next year. That is very far away, but there's a reason I want to show it to you. Did I have a video for that one? Graven, there you go. Oh no. I clicked the wrong thing. Go back. Graven. Because this is a 3D Realms game. That's the interesting part.
Our priest of the orthogonal order humbly walks the parallel path. But not all walk the parallel path. They serve another.
It's hard to understand him. Bad trailer.
Even the humble heart feels wrath and righteous anger, giving birth to unknown strength.
Graven.
Forget your staff, priest. It's the only thing that will keep you alive. You're gonna need it more than I.
So, the other side of getting older with playing games as a hobby is that next to remasters, you also get games that are being developed right now in the future, for the future, in a way that was very popular 20 years ago. So, this might also appeal to younger audiences, but I'm not entirely sure how long that's going to work out. It's a pixel shooter by 3D Realms, and just let me switch back here. See the interface? I mean, behind me you will see the health and the mana, because you're a priest and you can cast spells, right? And then you've got a hotbar with weapons and spells and such, and then on the right you've probably got items. And it's a pixely looking first person action game. It's not a shooter, or is it? I mean, you can use a sword and a staff to shoot magic missiles. No, the point here is it's a pixely looking game made modern. And it's not as pixelated as Doom 1, right? It looks okay.
Even the humble heart.
The backgrounds, the scenery looks okay. Very close up, things get very pixely, like the Raven. There might be, as they did in Warlock, a setting where you can slide how pixely you want it. Obviously, there's an audience that enjoys the pixel art style, the way things look when you make them pixely. But from the bits of gameplay we see, let's just turn off the sound. See the wobbling hands. We're running. I do expect some verticality with the aiming, but it might just work without that, being a 3D Realms game. But yeah, you can see the mouse going up and down, so you have the modern way of playing first person over the just horizontal sliding. And 3D Realms is making games like back in the day, just with a fresh coat of usability, or however you want to put it. I'm definitely going to be interested in it. It's also probably going to be too expensive on launch, so I'll wait for that until 2023 or something like that. But I thought I'd show that. There's another pixel shooter coming up much earlier. That's in February next year. Let's put that directly next. It's called Wrath, Eon of Ruin. Whoop. Also 3D Realms, right? This is marketing a big box physical release. This looks more like Doom. Quake. Doomquake. There's the box. Founders Edition. With text on the back. So I think it's a bit I mean, I can't fault them for it. It's a bit too obvious what audience they are aiming for, right? The gameplay looked okay. It looked like Doomquake, Quake Doom, in a bit of a fantasy-ish setting. I don't know. Cathedrals and demons and such. Nothing super special. This one and Graven, both named hilariously Wrath, Graven. Two very similar games that are completely different from one another. They both aim at the same audience. They are made in different engines, if I'm not completely wrong. I would probably enjoy playing them. So that's one thing. Physical boxes are probably the only way you can make money with this type of game nowadays. Stickers and pins and whatnot. So I think that's a niche in the whole shooter genre, the retrofied games. Sabaton, welcome. Emre, welcome as well to you. Yeah, a CD. Oh, I have got a CD drive in both PCs. I'm that old, you know. Painkiller. Yeah, it's the pace. The pace is fast, as in Quake, as in Doom. Quake's faster than Doom. That's without a doubt a fact. And simple. Fast and simple and straight. And you don't get many games in the shooter genre that are like that because, as we talked about briefly earlier, mostly all of them have loot and RPG mechanics. I don't think that Wrath or Graven will have RPG mechanics. They will have an RPG setting, but you will just use items and shoot weapons or spells or whatnot, but you will not have attribute points to spend. You will not have, I hope so, because otherwise they don't stand a chance, I think. Yeah, the good old days when games were buggy, you couldn't get patches and boxes were very expensive. Those good old games. Good old days. Obviously, there's something about having your hands do a thing, right? You unbox, you put things in your CD drive, and it's very physical and it's all very nostalgic. I'm a big fan of digital games, and I couldn't store the games I own on GOG in my room with boxes. It's too small. I don't have the room, so I'm very happy about digital stuff. No fat manual, yeah, bad, unplayable. But the Painkiller, Sabaton, what you mentioned, the Painkiller comparison is spot on. Straightforward, fast shooting or fighting, slashing, whatever. No attribute point spending, no resistance system, no quick time events, no press C to escape from the grasp. Nothing like that. Just you run around and shoot things dead. In Graven, it looked like there was a town with merchants, right? So that's already maybe too much RPG. Because that's just my opinion though. I think these pixelated retro fight games have a good reason to exist if they are straight on shooting. Shooting straight, so to speak. And as soon as they do, like Warlock did that. In Warlock, you had this rogue approach, and you could have many runs where you build up some attributes and unlock new skills. That's okay, but other games do it better and look better without you getting dizzy. And the retrification is not the unique best attribute of Wrath or Graven. I think they will be fun to play. Whereas for Project Warlock, I think they spent too much time on making it super retro, uber old school, and forgot a bit about the fun. But it's still fun to play. Yeah. Wrath, being developed by 1C. I think 1C are in Poland, right? We can find out. No, Russia. Sorry. It's Russia. I thought this was also a 1C company, but I'm not sure. No, it's also 1C Entertainment. And they are a Russian company. They have a studio in Poland, though. Ah, so it could be that's a 1C studio in Poland that does it. That could be, yeah. But yeah, it's both 3D Realms and 1C working on those. And I'm looking forward to them. Just because they will not take 180 hours to complete. To play. So Graven, I may be putting them here. The pixelated shooters, for those of you who enjoy that. We talked about the Mass Effect remaster. Okay, next up we're going to talk about Outriders, because it's the Outrider on the genre there. Whoops. But before we do that, I need a quick bathroom break. I'll be right back.